big breaking news from West Ham this morning. They have sacked head coach Graeme Potter after just 9 months in charge. West Ham have released this statement. West Ham can confirm that head coach Graeme Potter has left the club. Results and performances over the course of the second half of last season and the start of the 25-26 season have not matched expectations. And the board of directors believe that a change is necessary in order to help improve the team's position in the Premier League as soon as possible. The club can confirm that assistant coach Bruno Saltor, first team coaches Billy Reid and Narcis Pilach, lead goalkeeper coach Kasper Ankergren and goalkeeper coach Linus Candelin have also left with immediate effect. The board would like to thank Graeme and his coaching staff for their hard work during their time with the Hammers and wish them every success for the future. The process of appointing a replacement is underway. The club will be making no further comment at this time. Right, let's get more reaction to it now. We can speak to our chief correspondent, Kaveh Solhekol. Hi there, Kaveh. We'll kind of run back through, look at Graeme Potter's record, look what needs to be done with a new man in charge and where it went wrong for Potter. But I just want to start really with the fact that they've got a game on Monday night, Kaveh. It's the Monday night football against Everton. I'm kind of taking a wild guess that they might have somebody in place already because the backroom staff have gone. So who is going to step up if they haven't lined someone up?
Yeah, information is that Nuno Espirito Santo is going to be the new West Ham coach. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but we're expecting it to be confirmed shortly. The timeline to all this is, if you go back a week to West Ham losing at home to Crystal Palace, that was really Graeme Potter's last chance to show that he could turn this around. I think the West Ham board watched that game. OK, the performance was improved, but West Ham still lost. And at that stage, they decided really to start looking for alternatives and to consider all their options. It is, unfortunate, but that's the football business. That's the way it works. Graeme Potter, to his great credit, he just got on with life. He was taking training every day at West Ham's training ground. Of course, he was aware of reports about what was going on in the background, but he had no control over what was going on. I think West Ham's boards were sounding out potential replacements, seeing if they could get somebody in who they think could get more out of this squad than Graeme Potter has been able to get. And they've taken the decision that they can get somebody, and they've taken the decision that they believe, we understand, although it hasn't been confirmed, that that person is Nuno Espirito Santo. Now, Nuno is somebody who has a great record as a manager. He did a very good job at Wolves. He did an even better job at Nottingham Forest, getting him into Europe this season. Unfortunately, of course, he left Nottingham Forest under a cloud a few weeks ago after because of disagreements with people above him at the club. But is he the right man for West Ham? And if he is the person who's getting the job, does he know what a big job he has on his hands? Because there are so many issues at West Ham, off the pitch as well. We know the fans have been demonstrating against the board. We know the fans don't like the London Stadium. We know the fans have been very, very disappointed and disenchanted with the way their club is being run. And if the team is not playing well, if the team is not getting results, then that makes everything worse off the pitch as well. So if it is going to be Nuno, this is going to be a big, big job for him. And if you're a West Ham fan, of course, you will be getting right behind him and hoping that he is the man who can take West Ham back to where they believe the fans, West Ham, belong to be. Because remember, just a couple of years ago, there were parades at West Ham. They'd won a European trophy. David Moyes had done a fantastic job. But obviously the board decided to go in a different direction, and Julian Lopetegui came in. That didn't work out. They went to Graeme Potter, and unfortunately that hasn't worked out. And now it looks like they're going to turn to Nuno Espirito Santo.
What sort of job does he have on his hands then? What can he do that Graeme Potter just couldn't manage with the side second from bottom as it stands?
Look, I think the most important thing from the board's point of view is that, West Ham need to be better defensively. They've conceded something like from 7 corners already, from 7 set pieces, something like that already this season. Nuno is a manager who has a reputation for being somebody who can sort sides out defensively. So they will be looking at that and hoping that that is something that he can sort out straight away, starting with the game away at Everton on Monday night. Because, if it's going to be Nuno, this is going to be such a tough start for him. Away at Everton on Monday, then away at Arsenal as well before the international break. So defensively, he needs to sort the side out as quickly as possible. And if he wants them to play the way Nottingham Forest played, then it's going to be a case of being very, very good when you're out of possession and then counter-attacking. But the question you have to ask yourself is, do West Ham have the forwards that Nottingham Forest have? Do they have the same quality of forward players? Do they have the same quality of wide players who can play that kind of counter-attacking football? I'm sure Nuno would look at the squad, and if he believes that he doesn't have those kind of players, then I'm sure the West Ham board would make funds available for him to strengthen the squad in January. But the funds are not going to be limitless because, of course, like all other Premier League clubs, West Ham operate under pretty tight PSR and FFP regulations.
We know the fans wanted a change, lots of them calling for Potter to go. How do you think they'll feel about potentially it being Nuno?
I mean, it's difficult to say because, I can't speak for all West Ham fans. They will have a range of opinions. But I think, most West Ham fans you speak to will say that we are unhappy with the way the club is being run. We're unhappy with the London Stadium. And, of course, they've been unhappy with the way the team has been performing. Now, is Nuno the right man to sort everything out? I'm not sure. On paper, I can sit here and tell you, yes, of course, because if you look at his track record, his recent track record is better than Graeme Potter's recent track record. But then a lot of people in the game will say to you, from a manager's perspective, West Ham is a very, very difficult job. It's not just managing the players. It's not just getting results on the pitch. There's everything that you have to deal with off the pitch as well. All the politics, all the issues with the way the club is run and the stadium as well, and the fans being unhappy. I think most owners would tell you that if a team is playing well and if a team is getting results, then that tends to calm the fans down. But of course, I think, to be fair to West Ham fans, they have genuine concerns, and I'm not sure they're the kind of people who are just going to say, okay, the team is winning, we're going to forget about everything else. It may quieten them down, it may make Saturday afternoons more enjoyable, but I don't think the issues at West Ham are going to be totally fixed just by bringing in a new head coach.
And the understanding is, as you can see there, West Ham looking to appoint Nuno Espirito Santo. When you look at the timing of it all, and you've explained, obviously discussions had been happening from back in on Monday. We were expecting maybe this news to have broken a little earlier in the week. They let him go through this news conference. They let him sit down and do these one-on-ones. I'm guessing, which we've already hinted towards, is that this deal has been done with Nuno. Do we expect then him to be in place ahead of the Monday night football?
I think the timing of what has happened would point to that happening. West Ham lost to Palace last weekend. The board started looking at potential replacements. Like all clubs, they would already have had lists of potential managerial targets before that anyway. Then they would have started talks with their preferred candidate. And our information all along has been that Nuno has been their number one candidate. We were told on Thursday evening, even though we didn't report it because we couldn't confirm it, that Nuno was going to be the next West Ham head coach. That's why it was a little bit surprising that Graeme Potter still took the manager's press conference and did all the interviews yesterday. But the timing points to the fact that Nuno will be in charge on Monday. Maybe maybe a lot of managers would have looked at the fixtures coming up and said, you know what, if I'm going to take the West Ham job, I'd rather wait until the international break, because I'd rather swerve Everton away and Arsenal away. I don't particularly want to start my time at West Ham with 2 defeats. I also want to say that I think we should be fair to Graeme Potter as well, because, you know, he's had a very, very difficult job on his hands at West Ham. I thought he did an incredible job yesterday in all his interviews, in the press conference as well. Just put yourself in his shoes. You know, somebody who is trying to do his job when he knows that in the background his employers are looking for potential replacements, when he knows that social media and the media and us in the broadcast media as well are talking about him losing his job. I believe that, you know, he showed a lot of class and a lot of dignity by the way he conducted himself. He was back in the training ground straight after the defeat against Crystal Palace. He was taking training every day. He was trying to block all the noise out. He was trying to prepare his players as best as he could for the game against Everton. And I think it should go on the record as well that there were quite a few, you know, senior players at West Ham who were very close to him and thought that he had been doing a good job in very, very difficult circumstances. And there were players as well in that squad who wanted him to stay. Of course, as you get in any squad, there are players who are unhappy, players who don't get on with the manager, players who may be happy that he's now gone. But I think, I think we should, in all the talk about Nuno and what's happened and what's going to happen in the future, I think we should also acknowledge the fact that, despite the fact that results haven't been good, Graeme Potter has tried his absolute best in very, very difficult circumstances.
Yeah, I'm really glad you've made that point. I think you're absolutely right there, Kaveh. Just finally, I want to ask then, I mean, what do we think is next for Potter? He had obviously great times at Brighton, tipped as potentially an England manager of the future, but yet another job where he's underperformed.
I think Graeme Potter will be back. You know, he's still very young. He's still somebody who has a lot to offer the game. I think in the future, when he goes for jobs, the fact that, okay, it didn't work out for him at West Ham is going to be a negative, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the road for him as a head coach, as a manager, because people in the game know that the West Ham job is one of the hardest jobs in English football at the moment. So I think what happens in these cases most of the time is that managers go away, they take a bit of a rest. I think he needs a rest. He's been through a lot. It can't be a nice experience going through what he's had to go through in the past couple of weeks. But I'm sure Graeme Potter will be back. Managers lose their jobs all the time, and managers get jobs all the time. And I think he's still young enough and obviously talented enough, and he's somebody who has a huge amount to offer the game. I don't know whether he'll be in the Premier League or Europe. He's worked in Europe before, but I'm sure he will not be short of offers going forward, because everybody in football knows that if you fail at West Ham as a manager, it doesn't mean that you are a failure as a manager.